Welcome to As It Is, a 30-minute program designed for English learners. I'm Jonathan Evans.
And I'm Ashley Thompson. This program is aimed at English learners, so we speak a little slower and we use words and phrases especially written for people learning English. We also explain words and language rules, all while bringing you stories and information from around the world.
Today on the program, you will hear stories from Pete Musto, Bruce Albert, and Brian Lynn. You will also hear what's trending today, and John Russell will have this week's education report. But first, Brazil's planning minister resigned from office on Monday after a recording of him was made public. The recording appears to show Humero Jucá plotting the impeachment of now suspended President Dilma Rousseff. He reportedly was talking with a former oil company official about how to stop a corruption investigation. Jucá denies the allegations. He claimed that the words he said were taken out of context. On Monday, the planning minister said he would temporarily resign from the acting government. He had been in office less than 2 weeks. The Brazilian newspaper Folha published a partial transcript of the recording on Monday. The Reuters news agency reports that the paper said the recording was made secretly. In it, Jucá and the former oil company official Sérgio Machado discuss a government investigation of the state-operated oil company Petrobras. Both men have been named in the investigation. In the transcript, Jucá said, "We have to change the government so the bleeding is stopped." Machado reportedly said that the easiest solution is to put Michel in. That appears to refer to Vice President Michel Temer, Brazil's acting president during the suspension of Rousseff. Jucá is reported to have said he was working with the country's justices, who have the final word on impeachment. The recording was apparently made in March before the Senate voted to impeach Rousseff. Rousseff's supporters say the recording shows that she is the victim of an attempt to overthrow the government. The Brazilian Senate voted to place Rousseff on trial earlier this month. She is charged with using record-keeping tricks to hide Brazil's budget deficit when she campaigned for re-election in 2014. She is currently suspended for up to 180 days while her trial takes place.
The United States Army has agreed to let a Sikh man wear uncut hair and a turban while serving in the military. The Army announced its decision on Captain Simrathpal Singh at the end of March. 10 years ago, Singh entered the U.S. Military Academy in West Point, New York. At the time, he cut his long hair because of the military's rules about physical appearance. The Sikh religion bars men from having haircuts. Sikh men let their hair grow. Men are also required to wear a turban on their heads as a sign of their religious beliefs. Singh thought the army would only let him serve if he cut his hair. He told VOA it was a difficult decision. But the day he entered West Point, he promised himself he would find a way to return to his religion.
It was an excruciating experience, an excruciating decision to make, and the only way that I could justify it then was that promise that I made to myself. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't want any kid to have to go through that.
Singh completed his studies at the military academy in 2010. He then became an Army Ranger and was sent to Afghanistan in 2012. He received the Bronze Star, an award for his military service. The U.S. Army has let more than 100,000 soldiers keep their beards for medical reasons since 2007. But 10 years after he joined, Singh has had a difficult time getting the same treatment. Last year, he asked the Army to let him follow Sikh religious rules on appearance. The Army gave him a temporary exemption so that he could let his hair grow. But the Army then asked him to go through $32,000 in tests before agreeing to a long-term exemption. Part of the testing required him to show that he could put on and remove a gas mask without his hair causing problems. Singh then decided to take the Army to court because of the testing requirement. U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell chose to block the testing in March because of concerns about Singh's right to religious freedom. Thousands of other soldiers can wear long hair and beards for medical or other reasons without such specialized and costly expert testing, Howell wrote. The judge also stated that Singh had already completed a standard gas mask test successfully. Singh is the first active-duty Sikh U.S. soldier to receive this kind of exemption since the Defense Department began making changes 2 years ago. U.S. military leaders also have taken steps to ease rules about appearance for other religious groups. Attorney Amandeep Sidhu represented Singh in his case against the military. Sidhu says the fight is far from over. The Army still asks Sikhs to prove their hair, beards, and turbans have no effect on the health and safety of their military units or how well they operate.
Yes, Sikhs have served in the U.S. military, but we'll prove it to you again. And these guys will deploy to Afghanistan, and they will seal their gas masks, and they will wear helmets.
Eric Baxter is another lawyer for Singh. He says it is the responsibility of the Army to include every soldier.
Whenever the Army's had to expand to include minorities or women or others, you don't say, well, let's see if this upsets the soldiers. You tell the other soldiers to get in line and respect all Americans.
The exemption for Singh is not permanent, and the Army can remove it at any time. But Singh is happy knowing he kept his promise to return to his beliefs.
10 years later, to be true to myself, it was a pretty extraordinary feeling.
Singh and other Sikh soldiers like him hope that these exemptions become permanent. He does not want other Sikhs hoping to join the military to have to choose between their country and their religion. I'm Pete Musto.
U.S. President Barack Obama had a mixed message Tuesday for Vietnam's leaders. During his first visit to Vietnam, Obama spoke about the Vietnamese and American people beginning on a 100-year journey together. But he said Vietnam needs to do more to improve human rights. The president made the comments in a speech at Hanoi's National Convention Center. Tuesday was the second day of Obama's 3-day trip to Vietnam. Earlier on his visit, he gave the Vietnamese government what it wanted, an end to an almost 50-year-old ban on selling military equipment to Vietnam. Just a generation ago, we were adversaries, and now we are friends, he said. In his speech, Obama said that Vietnam is now among the top 10 countries sending students to American colleges and university. He said a record 19,000 Vietnamese are studying in the United States this year. And last year, Vietnam welcomed nearly 500,000 American tourists to this country, and I will assure you that more are on their way, Obama said. The president said the U.S. government would work with Vietnam for freedom of navigation on the South China Sea. But he criticized Vietnam's record on human rights. The country has more than 100 political prisoners, and more people were detained in the past week, according to activists. Obama said that freedom of speech and freedom of assembly are part of Vietnam's constitution. He also spoke about opening Vietnam's political process to candidates from groups outside the Communist Party. He said freedom of expression, including a free press, is critical to a nation's progress. That's how a Facebook starts, Obama said. That's how some of our greatest companies began. The president met with 6 activists on Tuesday. He noted that several others who were invited were prevented from coming for various reasons. Ben Rhodes is the president's deputy national security advisor. He said the U.S. government protested to Vietnamese officials about the activists stopped from meeting with Obama. Rhodes said the United States will follow up to make sure activists who met with the president and those who could not are free and not punished. Vietnam President Tran Dai Quang said his meeting with the president is an important milestone in relations between the two nations. The United States and then North Vietnam fought against each other in the 1960s and 1970s. In China, the government used the China Daily newspaper to express concerns about Obama's meeting with Vietnamese leaders. It said it would be a mistake if the United States and Vietnam worked to stop the rise of China. The conflict is mostly over the South China Sea. The United States and Vietnam have criticized China's claims to the sea, one of the world's most important waterways. China says almost all of the South China Sea is part of its territory. In recent years, Chinese crews have developed artificial islands, complete with airstrips. But there are also claims by Vietnam, the Philippines, Brunei, Malaysia, and Taiwan. On Tuesday, the crowd at Hanoi's National Convention Center cheered when Obama said, "Big nations should not bully smaller ones." He said the relationship between the United States and Vietnam should be on firmer footing for decades to come. But the China Daily said the president and Vietnam risked turning the region into a tinderbox of conflicts. Whether or not Vietnam and the United States have good relations could be decided by the next U.S. president. The presidential election is less than 6 months away. The leading candidates are businessman Donald Trump and former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Simon Tay is head of the Singapore Institute of International Affairs. After all, when she was Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton did play a major role in helping the pivot to Asia. But if it's a Trump presidency, all bets are off on a number of major issues, including trade, he said. There has been mixed reaction to the president's visit. Phil Robertson of Human Rights Watch said Obama made a mistake ending the ban on weapons sales before Vietnam showed real progress on human rights. But a banned Vietnamese pro-democracy party said the president offered a forward-looking vision and forceful argument for a free Vietnam. I'm Bruce Alpert.
Many online entrepreneurs are moving their businesses from Western nations to Vietnam's Ho Chi Minh City. Vietnam is especially popular for young people starting online companies because of the country's low cost of living. Alex Fortin moved to Ho Chi Minh City from Calgary, Canada, 2 years ago to develop online education courses. It's quite safe here, and the internet is pretty good, said Fortin. I wanted to be somewhere where I could focus 100% on my online business. The young entrepreneur makes money by writing online courses that help people make money on the internet. He is one of many tech nomads building a startup in Ho Chi Minh City. Also, it is easier to get a work visa in Vietnam than other countries. Entrepreneurs can legally stay in Vietnam for up to 5 years. Ho Chi Minh City is Vietnam's economic center and caters to young entrepreneurs there. Many small community workplaces have opened up in the city. One of those places is Start Saigon in the city's popular District 1 area. Start Saigon offers workspace to entrepreneurs. The space is busy with people from around the world and is open 24 hours a day. It provides high-speed internet and has a pool for swimming and relaxing. You don't have to wait 30 years to start your life and drink coconut water by the pool, Fortin said about the unique working environment. Community centers and even some coffee shops in Ho Chi Minh City are attracting mainly expatriates who have many things in common. Expats hang around with expats, Fortin said. It is easier for foreigners to relate to each other, and they can speak to each other in English, he explained. He also said that foreigners doing business in Ho Chi Minh City are well respected and treated very nicely by Vietnamese. Fortin has decided to leave Vietnam after 2 successful years working on his business. One of the reasons he decided to move is because he met the woman of his dreams in Ho Chi Minh City. The two are now married, and his wife is accepting a job in the U.S. city of Seattle. Although Fortin is starting a new life in the United States, the nomad lifestyle is still important to him. He said he has not changed to an American phone because he is sure he will travel abroad again to do business. I'm Brian Lynn.
This is What's Trending Today. The 1992 film A League of Their Own tells the story of the first all-women's professional baseball league in the United States. The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League was formed during World War II. It was launched in 1943, and play continued until 1954. One of the best teams was the Rockford Peaches from Rockford, Illinois. A League of Their Own told about the Peaches. Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, and Gina Davis played 3 of the women who were on the Peaches team. Actor Tom Hanks played the part of the team's manager. This week, the Rockford Peaches have become a trending topic on social media, thanks to a baseball team of young girls in Seattle, Washington. The newest Peaches team is made up of 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, and the girls do not play against other girl teams. This Rockford Peaches team plays against boys. The story has gone viral. The young Rockford Peaches team is the first ever all-girls team in the history of West Seattle Little League baseball. Its head coach, Sean Ely, formed the Peaches a few months ago. He has a daughter on the team. He told ABC News that he named the team after the original Rockford Peaches. Since the players are so young, the teams do not yet keep score. As a result, there are no winners or losers. But the Rockford Peaches do play against all-boys teams, and their coach says they do as well as, or better than, the other teams. "I know baseball," he said. "I play it, I love it, and like I've said, these girls are just as good as the boys, if not better." The Rockford Peaches were a trending topic earlier this month when several of the A League of Their Own actors came together for a reunion. Gina Davis organized the event during the Bentonville Film Festival in Arkansas. Naturally, the movie's cast members reunited on a baseball field, and they even played a baseball game. Pictures from the game went viral. The first pitch of the game was thrown by Gina Casey. She played for the original Rockford Peaches back in the 1950s. At the reunion, she told reporters that she hopes to teach young girls that they can do anything. "You can do anything well if you try hard," she said. And that's what's trending today.
Many English learners can improve their pronunciation by listening carefully to native English speakers and trying to match the up and down movement of their sentences. That is the opinion of Marla Yoshida, an English as a foreign language teacher at the University of California, Irvine. Yoshida wants English learners to look for details that are important to native speakers. These details are not only sounds, she notes. Native speakers also communicate by using pauses and by saying some words more forcefully than others. As a result, native speakers might not understand an English learner even if the learner pronounces sounds correctly. Yoshida says that English learners often study pronunciation by listening and repeating something from a recording. Yoshida says that English learners need to do more than listen and repeat in order to improve their pronunciation.
I've gradually gotten really interested in pronunciation because it's something that many students have trouble with, but they don't always get a lot of really good instruction in it. They just have someone say, listen to this recording and repeat, and now aren't you better? No, you're not necessarily better. It takes more than that.
The problem with listen and repeat, says Yoshida, is that when people repeat, they are often not trying to sound like the other person.
You think that when students are repeating after the teacher or whatever, they're trying to sound exactly like that person, but they're not. The sounds that you hear go into your brain, and your brain interprets them or filters them through the sound system of your own language. And what your brain ends up understanding is not everything, it's not what the speaker intended. So you have to try to get past that filter and hear all of the details that are important to someone else. So you have to try to duplicate what the person is saying.
What details should you try to copy when you listen to an English speaker? Among others, the important details include pauses or breaths, which words to emphasize or give special attention to, and intonation, the up and down movement of your voice as you speak. English speakers, in particular, use a broad range of up and down movements in their voices. These movements can be difficult for English learners to recognize and understand. Native English speakers might have difficulty understanding English learners when learners use a narrow range of their voice. In other words, native speakers have fewer vocal restrictions when they are speaking. English learners also may use intonation patterns that are different from those in standard English. Studying how native speakers use intonation will help English learners better understand what native speakers do with their voices. If English learners want to start improving their pronunciation, Yoshida suggests that they do an activity called shadowing.
Shadowing means finding a short audio or video clip that you like, that's maybe 30 seconds long, 1 minute long, at most 2 minutes long, and listen to it. Listen to it a couple of times to get the meaning and to hear where the speaker pauses and what they emphasize and what the intonation sounds like, because those are really important things too, not just the sounds. Pronunciation is much more than saying each sound correctly, because you can say each sound correctly and still sound really hard to understand. Okay, so find a short clip, listen to it, mark things that you notice, then listen a few more times just to sort of let those sounds become a part of your brain. And then start imitating. And imitate, trying to sound exactly like that person.
Here is a short example of what a shadowing activity could look like. The example comes from Martha Coln's book, Rhetorical Grammar. One of the most important aspects of your expertise with sentences is your sense of rhythm. Listen to the sentence several times. Then try to mark the intonation of the voice. Listen for emphasized words. One of the most important aspects of your expertise with sentences is your sense of rhythm. In the sentence, you can hear that some syllables are emphasized, while others are not. Overall, the voice falls after important syllables, notably at the end of the sentence. English sentences often emphasize words at the end of a sentence, the place where you usually find new information. The next time you are reading and listening to a story, try to mark the patterns of intonation that you hear. Give shadowing a try and let us know how it works for you. I'm John Russell.
And that's our program for today. Listen again tomorrow to learn English through stories from around the world. I'm Jonathan Evans.
And I'm Ashley Thompson.